So the conceptual framework for Deepwater House is based around three core ideas. One is the geography, the terroir, the sort of location of the house, which is on the Canning River, specifically Deepwater Point, which the house draws its name from. The second is the family and their brief and the rituals, so their daily living, how they go about their lives and the things that they do from day to day and how that overlays with how you should plan the house out. And the third is the environmental considerations, which are unique to Western Australia. So we have this intense light and heat in summer. We have strong prevailing cooling breezes. We have the need to retreat into our houses and structures to shield ourselves from these environments, but also to celebrate them. So it's those three things that really form the key contextual framework for the project. So the client composition for Deepwater House is a family of four. So we have James and Anne and their two boys, Joseph and Daniel. When the client came to me originally, they all lived in a house in Bicton. It was actually a standard kind of double-storey project home, very ubiquitous, that you see everywhere in WA, with a very large, fat internal plan, 2 stories, ridiculously oversized atrium that they never used, which was kind of like the grand entry to the house. And the key thing that they said to me during the briefing stage was, we don't use this house the way that we should be using a house. So 80% of the spaces were used infrequently. Most of the upper floor was actually closed off and not used, just because of the disconnect that you get between the family zone on the ground floor and the bedrooms and the spaces upstairs. And then the family zones on the ground floor in that house were too small. So they didn't actually cater to the rituals and the family life and the way they went about their day. So that was a key consideration, was to create a single level building stretched thin along the site and have 80 to 90% of the rooms being used all the time, as opposed to a larger house that was used for less of the time. So you get a better economy and a better use and a better kind of integration of the kind of daily rituals and the family's life spread out on the site. And then the other key thing that it does that the project homes don't do is the connection to landscape and the outdoors. So at all points on this house, it's connecting with the landscape in a meaningful way. So that then adds to the quality of the spaces, in that they're able to get to the outdoors, hover at that interstitial space between the inside and out, and just enjoy our climate. This is the kitchen, which is the central space, the social hub of the house. Spatial planning with the whole project was really quite casual, but very welcoming and homely. The kitchen bench is kind of overscaled for family activities as well as cooking. So it's not just about preparation of food, it's about social gathering, the studying that the boys were doing at the time, and the interaction, I guess, with the outdoor space. The room itself is only a room deep. There's no corridor circulation. So the idea with the whole plan is to have immediate integration with the outdoors. So we have a edible vegetable garden, which Anne, the owner, could access on the southern side, linked to the northern garden, which is obviously where all the living and the social zone of the house happens. Simple kind of spatial planning. It's divided into 3 sections. The cooking zone, which also has a concealed appliance cooking cupboard, ovens and pantry down the end, and then the island bench, and it's all kept fairly casual and open to the space. So the living space has kind of been sort of a little bit like the rest of the house. It's very casually laid out. You can see there's kind of these casual linear kind of Rosso chairs, tiki sofa. It's all very kind of relaxed with a nice connection to the outdoors. Again, every room in the house has a connection to an outdoor space. You can see now, because we're in the middle of winter, the light has been thrown onto the back wall. So the whole idea with this space is that you feel kind of like it's a sheltered veranda. So you can open the whole house and just let it breathe, and especially the living and the entertaining spaces and the dining just allows that kind of connection with the landscape, which is a key concept in the whole house. So we designed this ceiling and roof as a kind of cathedral shape with a biparting skillion shape, and the kind of fissures or the glass that's kind of exposed between the different planes allows in this beautiful south light. It's also completely functional in that it vents all of the hot air in summer. And it also creates a wonderful connection and view to the jacaranda trees on the west side of the house, which go into bloom in November. So you get this beautiful kind of purple colour into the central heart of the house, and it's a way of kind of borrowing a mature landscape from the neighbours into this house. In WA we have this unique climate in that West Australians love to move towards the edges of buildings. So a really important part in all our designs in Deepwater House is this interstitial space. So that's the space that's not quite inside and it's not quite outside, but it's a space that we like to hover. So this is a really kind of casual, easy feel where you can move quite effortlessly between the inside and the out. That was the interesting thing, like most people have what's called an alfresco area. James didn't want that, he didn't want the barbecue or the outdoor setting or anything like that, because this space, the inside space, does that already. All you have to do is open all the doors, and like I said, it's kind of like a covered veranda for the outdoor space. So you don't need that extra ubiquitous kind of alfresco space that we seem to put on West Australians. We tack them onto the backs of lots of houses, but with this one it's just integrated with this one pavilion. So the pool terrace and lap pool's been designed to integrate into the garden with minimal pool fencing. So we created a kind of landscaped moat, if you like, around the outside to satisfy the pool regulations. All the pool equipment is hidden behind another concrete block kind of screen, where we used actually remnant and recycled blocks from the house in the landscaping walling. And there's also a retractable solar kind of blind over, which is manually operated, which is designed by a South Australian company actually, who's a yacht enthusiast, and uses all that sort of nautical kind of turnbuckles and swages and pulley systems. So it's very low tech but incredibly practical to be able to move the blind depending on the sun to create shade over the pool terrace. Deepwater House has quite a long list of very skilled tradesmen that have put the house together, and just in terms of like the skill level goes into things like the natural stonework paving, the concrete block. We use a lot of breeze blocks and patterns in the laying that has created a kind of uniqueness and a kind of uniquely West Australian craft to the way it's put together. Also the joiner and the carpenters who did all the cabinet work and timber joinery created beautifully, seamlessly detailed finishes with the concrete block. Sustainability measures, we have a solar PV array on the roof which generates pretty much all the energy needs that the house needs, which the client monitors on an app on his phone. He's able to completely control the energy consumption, the lighting, and also the wireless technology behind the whole house. There is going to be a battery storage that's going to be installed, which we allowed when we did the build. We have a rainwater collection harvesting tank on the south side of the building, and that's used two ways. It actually recharges all of the toilet cisterns in the house, but it also acts as rainwater for the edible garden, which is on the south side of the building. Other sustainability measures, because we have a long, thin plan facing north and south, the entire south wall is effectively a big thermal mass heat sink. So we have Kingspan solid board insulation in the cavity that creates basically a 50 to 60 metre long thermal mass wall down the whole plan of the house. So the way that works is on a house that has a single depth like this, the sun comes in, hits the burnished floor slab and the walls, especially in winter. That energy is then stored in the thermal mass and re-released into the spaces late at night. So you're getting basically free heating in your house. Okay, so the music room on Deepwater House is actually in the social zone of the house at the front. And unlike most houses, we chose to use a function that really was the outward representation of the family to, I guess, the community and the public. So rather than the traditional living room or bedroom, it's actually this room, which is kind of like a recital room they invite people into. And it's kind of the bit that people see from the street rather than the dining or the kitchen or someone in their bedroom. So it has a very different representation. The room is actually skewed slightly on the side. It's angled towards Aquinas College, where the boys attended, across the river. So there's a direct gesture of the boys' schooling and the location of this space. We intentionally lowered the ceiling in this space. We have plywood ceilings that basically act as the acoustic absorbers, so it has a very good sound quality. The concrete blocks obviously lend a lot of sort of sound attenuation. We have soft cushioning on the banquet seating, which is usually where the public and people that come to the house can sit, but it's a lovely space, and it's really the only space that faces the street in the community. Part of the consideration in the site planning for the bedroom wing was dividing this space up into 2 levels, and it actually ramps up the site to follow the contour of the site. But currently we're standing in the middle level, which is essentially the boys, Joseph and Daniel's portion of the bedroom wing. So it's kind of halfway between the living room zone, which ramps down, and then the master bedroom zone, which ramps up. So we've essentially got 2 bedrooms for the boys, only as big as they need to be with storage. And then a central bathroom and shower, which then is shared with the access to the pool outside, so it's a good way to get more use out of that bathroom. But then the key design consideration, as is the case in this whole southern wall, is to create reveals by undulating the wall in plan, and that allows us to then put these study areas for the boys. There's also things like IT storage cupboards. Further down we have the living room AV cupboard, and then the kitchen beyond that. So it's a great way of activating this entire circulation edge the whole way down the site. So the master bedroom suite is at the end of the entire plan on the site. You probably notice this large louver bay, which is screened by breeze blocks and landscape, but essentially this faces due southwest. So we get the lovely cooling breezes in summer entering the house from this point and filtering all the way down the end of the plan, which is great cross ventilation. The master room also has a lovely outlook over the pool, which is at the rear of the site. And then we have our angled screen walls facing west that filter that harsh western sun in summer. So the bedroom is at the highest point of the site, but it also has the highest apex in terms of the ceiling height. So the volume here is intentionally increased as you come through the circulation corridor. It's a nice culmination in the plan, and you often come into this space, turn around and then reflect on the rest of the plan further down the site.